You have heard the claim 100 times. The pyramids were too perfect for ancient people to build. The Nazca lines can only be seen from the sky. The stone at Puma Punku looks machine-cut, and so the conclusion follows almost on its own. Ancient humans must have had help from somewhere off this planet. Here is the honest answer, and you are not going to like how far it travels. Before anyone had a chance to dig, to measure, or to translate, one man sold a story that filled every gap with spaceships. And the story became so popular that the real evidence barely registered. By the end of this video, you will be able to hear any version of that claim and give a calm, factual answer. One that ends the argument. That is the promise. Part 1, where the idea actually came from. The idea did not come from the pyramids. It did not come from any artifact ever dug out of the ground. It came from a single book, written by a Swiss hotel manager with no training in the ancient world, published in 1968. His name was Erich von Däniken, and his argument was seductive on purpose. The monuments of the ancient world, he said, are too advanced for the people who built them, so someone else must have helped. Visitors from the sky. The book sold 60 million copies. It grew into a television empire. A fringe hunch became a household phrase, Ancient Aliens, and it is still the most watched show in History Channel history. All of that from one man guessing. But here is what the theory never tells you. Archaeologists have spent 50 years testing von Däniken's claims, one by one, and the record is not close. He misread sites. He ignored the builders. And everywhere there was a gap in our knowledge, he dropped in a spaceship. Those gaps were rarely mysteries. They were simply things we had not dug up yet. So here is the test we will run on every exhibit that follows. One question, repeated. When the alien theory points at a monument, what did the people who made it actually leave behind? Because if they left a record, we do not need a hypothesis. We have receipts. Part 2, the pyramids. Exhibit A, the pyramids. The claim is simple. The Great Pyramid of Giza is too massive, too perfectly aligned, too precise for Bronze Age people with copper tools and nothing but rope. So the argument goes, no human could have built it. Here is what the claim leaves out. Near Giza, archaeologists uncovered an actual workers' village. Bakeries, dormitories, a cemetery for the laborers. These were not slaves. They were not aliens. They were skilled Egyptian crews on rotating shifts, fed on bread and beer. They were managed with a level of logistics that would embarrass most modern construction companies. As for the impossible engineering, it has been tested. Ramps, wooden sledges, wet sand to cut friction, copper tools that have proven capable of slicing limestone. And in 2013, archaeologists found the crown jewel. The actual papyri of a man named Murer describing his crew hauling limestone up the Nile to the building site. That is not a legend. That is a work log with a name, a job, and a supply chain. Do you see the move? The alien theory needs the pyramid to be a mystery with a hole where human effort should be. Archaeology filled that hole with a payroll. So yes, the pyramid is a mystery, but it is a mystery in the way all great human achievements are mysteries. Not no human. A team of humans, using teamwork, math, and plain stubbornness. Which is honestly a better story than aliens. Part 3, the Nazca lines. Exhibit B, the Nazca lines. This is the exhibit people feel the most. You can only see the shapes from the sky, a hummingbird, a spider, a monkey, and lines running for miles. How do you draw what you cannot see? So the conclusion feels automatic. A runway for spaceships. Except we know exactly how they did it, because they left the instructions. The Nazca people worked between roughly 500 before our era and 500 of our era. They used stakes, cords, and scaled-up grid designs, the same method a kid uses to enlarge a doodle onto poster board. And the shapes were visible from the nearby hills, not from orbit. From the ground, at a certain angle, the designs resolved. But the deeper answer is stranger and kinder. These lines were not signals to the sky at all. They were ritual paths, offerings to gods of water and fertility, carved in one of the driest places on Earth. They were not meant to be seen. They were meant to be walked. So stop asking who the Nazca were signaling to. Ask what they were praying for. Rain, crops, survival, that is not a mystery of technology. It is a mystery of faith, and we should be honest about this. A faith focused on water in a place that has almost none is more moving than any fleet of starships. Part 4, The Impossible Stonework. Exhibit C, Puma Punku. This is the alien claim's greatest hit. Bolivian blocks with crisp, right-angle grooves. At a glance, it looks laser-cut. At a glance, it looks like machines did it. And then someone actually examined the site. Archaeologists found the tools: hammerstones, copper chisels, stones pecked, ground, and polished over years. There is strong evidence of standardized templates, ancient modular parts, blocks swapped and fitted like a kit. That is not less impressive than aliens. It is more impressive. The Tiwanaku ran industrial-level standardization 1,000 years before the Industrial Revolution. And this is the point that should end the debate. Experimental archaeologists have recreated Puma Punku blocks using period tools. Slower than a laser, sure. Impossible? No. Think about what that means. Someone picked up the exact tools the theory calls too primitive, and with patience, they reproduced the exact stone the theory says humans could not produce. Read that twice. The theory's central object, produced by human hands, that is not a monument to aliens. That is a monument to patience. Part 5, The Ancient Texts. Exhibit D, The Ancient Texts. And now it gets genuinely fun because the texts are the source of every vivid image you have seen. The Book of Ezekiel, wheels within wheels, glowing metal, the Vedas, flying chariots of the gods called Vimanas. Are these not eyewitness accounts of spacecraft? The historian's reply is simple, and it is worth slowing down for. Ancient people were extraordinary storytellers, and they described the divine with the grandest imagery they had. Fire, storms, wheels, chariots. Ezekiel's vision is read as symbolic prophecy, built from the temple architecture of his own era, not a tourist report from a flying saucer. Think about it this way. If you witnessed something genuinely awe-inspiring 3,000 years ago and you had no word for spacecraft, what would you reach for? Gods. Fire, wheels, wings, the biggest images you had. That does not make the experience fake. It makes the description theirs, not ours. We are the ones reading machinery into poetry. Hold that thought, because it feeds the verdict. And then take one last exhibit, because it is the only one that genuinely unsettles people. Part 6, The Dogon and Sirius. Exhibit E, The Dogon People of Mali. The claim is that they knew about a hidden star, Sirius B, a white dwarf invisible to the naked eye, and they knew it long before telescopes could see it. If that is true, someone must have been told. From somewhere. This is the one case without a perfect answer. The claim spread in the 1970s that the Dogon had detailed knowledge of Sirius B before astronomy confirmed the star in 1862. But researchers who went back to the original field notes found something plain. The Dogon informants had decades of contact with European missionaries, teachers, and astronomers. One early visitor reportedly bought star charts and discussed Sirius directly with them, years before the famous interviews. So we may not be looking at ancient wisdom. We may be looking at modern knowledge reflected back. The honest label for that is culture contact, not alien contact, not a cover-up. Just neighbors exchanging what they knew and a good story holding the microphone. So here it is. The verdict you came for, and the honest version is still better than the myth. Did ancient humans meet aliens? Based on the work logs, the tools, the grid cords, and the temple carvings, no credible evidence. Not one case survived contact with the archive. But now, the question everyone stops asking too early. Why does a theory with so little evidence refuse to die? Part 7, Why the Theory Refuses to Die. The first reason is simple. It is a great story. Ancient people did something incredible, and that is satisfying. Ancient people did something incredible, and there is a secret underneath, that is addictive. The alien story hands the viewer a membership card. You are not just watching history. You are an insider who knows what the textbooks are hiding. But there is a second reason, and it is uncomfortable. Look at the map of where ancient alien claims concentrate. Egypt, South America, West Africa. Again and again, the theory picks civilizations outside Europe and then declares them incapable. That is the old colonial habit, rebranded with spaceships. It once denied these cultures credit for their cities, their writing, their astronomy. Now it denies them credit for their stone. The theory is not just bad science. Quietly, it erases real human genius and names aliens as the author. That is the deepest reason the myth survives, and it is also the reason the truth deserves to win. When we give the credit back to the builders, we are not debunking a kitsch story. We are restoring ownership of the past to the people who actually built it. And that is the bonus the title never promised you, because the real study of distant life is not the ancient alien story at all. It is a science, it is funded, and it is looking in the exact right places. Part 8, the real science. Is there real science about whether life exists out there? Yes, and it does not need pyramids to be credible. Astrobiology is a real, funded field. It hunts for microbes under the ice of Europa, one of Jupiter's moons. It reads biosignatures in the atmospheres of distant planets. NASA sends missions for exactly this purpose. Nobody in the field is laughing. And then there is the current events twist. The United States government runs an actual office for investigating unidentified anomalous phenomena. Its reports have reviewed decades of sighting records, thousands of cases, and the consistent result is this: no verifiable evidence of alien technology, alien beings, or crashed craft. Most sightings resolve to drones, balloons, birds, and aircraft. A few remain unexplained, not because they are proven alien, but because the data is thin. Which is not a cover-up. It is the most honest sentence in modern science. We do not know all of it, we are still looking, and we will tell you exactly what we find. That patience is not boring. It is what makes the whole thing trustworthy. The takeaway. So bring it home. The question we kept asking, exhibit after exhibit, got the same answer every time. What did the builders leave behind? Work logs, tools, grid cords, temple carvings, and people. The alien story skips all of it. It leaps from a beautiful question to a convenient answer and leaves the builders out of their own story. And the real story is the one worth telling. Humans with no engines, no lasers, no forklifts. Only rope, geometry, community, and stubborn genius. They moved stones that still stand after thousands of years. They carved a hummingbird into the desert floor that still catches the morning light. That is not a mystery that needs aliens to be impressive. That is the impressive part. So next time you hear that aliens built the pyramids, you know the calm answer. Humans did. And honestly, that is the wilder story. If you want the deep dive into the government files, or one real monument, it is on screen now. Thanks for thinking with me. And the next time you look up at the stars, remember, the wonder was never in the sky. It was in the hands that shaped the world below it.